Here. Yay. Welcome, Patricia. Come on in and make sure the live stream goes. All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Here, yay. Welcome, everyone, to a new week of Blueprint for Peak Performance. I'm Brandi Smith with Perfect 10 Physical Therapy and Performance Training and Perfect 10 PT Academy, which is our online courses for parents, coaches, and athletes. We are here for Q&A. For those of you that don't know a lot about me, I was a collegiate gymnast on 2 national championship teams. And I started gymnastics when I was 3, started competing when I was 7, and set a big goal at 7 to be a collegiate gymnast and win a national championship. And in that journey, I dealt with fear, I dealt with injuries, I dealt with some eating things. And through that process, I learned a lot about myself, even got cut from the gymnastics team, lost the scholarship over injuries, and got cut over fear. And then came back, earned a spot, and became a starter on beam and vault in college, and contributed to 2 national championships, and got a scholarship. So I met my goals, and then after that went on to PT school and went on fellowship training and several other courses and tools in my tool belt. And I became a specialist in treating young athletes all across the globe. And I've treated athletes all the way from recreational up to Olympic athletes. So that's a little bit about me. What I want to do, I believe we have a topic already, because Madhu was there to save the day and remind us of what we were doing this week. So we're supposed to talk about ankle mobility a step further and get into squatting progression. Okay, so last time we talked about ankle mobility, I gave some basic ankle mobility exercises, and we wanted to continue on down that path. Does anyone have any questions, or did anyone play with some of the exercises we did last week? Yeah, come on in, Sean.
Well, not exactly specifically, but I train my students every week in ankle mobility when I'm warming them up for my classes, and putting them in the lunge side and front lunge stretches, and then going back and forth and for ankle mobility there. And I actually recently incorporated um, like a balance challenge for them. Like balancing on one foot and then rotating the ankle that's lifted up both ways. And then it crossed my mind to do like, can you guys write the alphabet, make the alphabet with your ankles and stuff? And I'm like, it crossed my mind to do that, but I'm like, wait a second, I kind of have limited time for the warming up. So I'm like, let's just go with this for now. And so I always make sure to do that before I take them through the stations and stuff. So that's definitely kind of a warm-up staple for me for my classes.
So did you play with the side lunges and the forward lunge stuff and the 4 points with them? Because that would be
Um,
great in that warm up. You can do that as part of the warm up.
that's right. I do remember that. I not the 4 point. I forgot kind of. I may have forgotten about the 4 points part, but I think so. I'll try to maybe I
Yeah,
might
just
do
remember
it
the
next
4
time.
points in and
Yep.
out.
Yep.
That is like a really great weighted proprioceptive
Mm-hmm.
information to the brain,
Mm-hmm.
mobility exercise all at once.
Mm-hmm.
Super simple that you can do. Um, yeah, I would really recommend doing that as a part of it. And then of course we had the video last week off my Facebook group page. That was the ankle dynamic warm up for those of you looking for a warm up. And yeah, you don't have to do everything every single session. Like you could do circles one day and the next day say, hey, write the alphabet or do the first 10 letters or right. What I like about alphabet and stuff like that is that you're getting the brain more involved and they're having to watch their foot, which helps improve that motor control, motor map that we always talk about. So you're increasing the refinement of the motor map when they're watching their feet. They're having to think, what is an A, right? Versus circling can get quite easy and auto. And then even the alphabet can turn into
Oh yeah, I get it.
write your best friend's name, write
Yeah.
your name, write your name backwards. Like those
Oh,
things are just right. And then, another one's like figure eights. That's another one. You can do
yep.
it. Now do a figure eight one way, do it
Mm,
the other way. And
okay.
so all that does is it just increases the motor map And you don't
Yeah,
have to
okay.
do 1,000 of those things. You just need to do
Ah,
like
got
10
it.
seconds of it. Does that make
Got it.
sense?
Yes.
And it's good to change up what they're doing, like from Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday, and don't even make every Tuesday is write your name day. Like, don't do that. Like, just randomly changing it, it keeps the brain on edge where they have to think about something. Like, I love ideas of writing something backwards. I have to
Hmm.
really think, when's the last time I
All
wrote
right.
in cursive backwards? Like,
Oh gosh.
I'm having to refine it, right? And now a lot of kids don't even know cursive anymore. My daughter does, but not everyone. So, the point of it all is that you're trying to create more neural input, more thinking. And by doing more thinking with the movement, you're enhancing the motor pattern, especially to that body part, but you're also getting overflow to the rest of the body. So, like if I'm focusing on my feet and writing my name backwards while standing on one leg, now can they do that? If they're falling over, then that's too challenging, right? But if they're balancing, weeble wobbling, and catching themselves and correcting, then that's perfect amount of challenging, right? And so, but if I'm doing this, I'm increasing my motor map, not just to my feet, though. I'm getting the entire gyrus is getting more information. So I
Mhm.
can improve my glutes. I can improve all kinds of stuff. Like today, I did a bunch of vestibular stuff where I worked with the eye and the ear, and I increased a girl's range of motion from 4 degrees of dorsiflexion to 17 degrees by the time we were done. So that's pretty impressive. Like, and well, I have to say that we gained 15 degrees. So we went from 4 to 15. So we gained 11 degrees by doing just eye and brain exercises. But then we gained the next like 3 degrees with some joint mobility stuff, right? So I'm just saying that's how important it is and stuff you can easily throw in. Okay, so Madhu said, and you're welcome to share if you want, Madhu, if you want to unmute, but if you're not in a place, that's okay. So what
Oh no,
helped?
it's okay. I can share.
Yeah,
I
go
was
ahead and
gonna say,
share.
I didn't want to interrupt you. I
Yeah.
was saying that the nerve glides that you talked about last week. I know we did nerve glides one-on-one with Arya, but then actually holding the ankle and going past the knee, like it took it to a whole nother level because her left was on the ground, her right was not. After we added
When you
that
say
piece,
left was on
I
the ground,
had
right was on, hold on. When you said
the
left was on
left
the
was
ground and
on the
right, are you
ground.
talking about the split? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about her split, yeah.
Okay.
Um, her split, her left side was on the ground, but the right side was still about 3-4 inches above the ground. But then once we added the ankle, like holding the ankle and going over the knee, both of them were on the ground, and it was awesome. So she was super excited about that. Yeah,
Yay, Aria. I'm giving you a hug. She's
yeah. No,
excited.
it was. It
I
was. I think the
totally,
nerve glides have made such a big difference for her. I think that's been like the biggest thing. Yeah.
I would love for you to share with everyone because Aria was one is Aria's how old is Aria? Seven.
She's 7. She'll be 8 soon. A couple
Okay,
months.
I have to say 7 or 8. Yeah, and so Aria is 7, and she hated stretching because why? It always hurt.
Yeah,
And so,
she would be in tears every single time. And I always thought like the only way to stretch was to keep stretching, right? Like the only way to get better was to keep stretching. And then there was like no tears. I think we spent like 10 minutes maybe at most. And I couldn't believe it. It was like 7 inches, all the way from 7 inches to all the way on the ground.
you were
I
from
did
7.
try the,
So hold
yeah,
on,
we went
I
from
want to
7 inches.
reinforce that. So you were 7 inches off the ground, and this is a kid who cries when she has to stretch because it hurts so much. And you did 10 minutes of mobility work and neural dynamic work, nervous system stuff. And what happened, Madhu?
And her left side was all the way on the ground.
Yeah.
And so then I actually started having her do it in her gym. Like, so we started incorporating it into her gym. I said, if they tell you to do your split, you're just going to do your nerve glide and you're going to do your split. And if they ask, just say it's a nerve glide. Like it's okay. They call it a calf stretch, which I don't really care what they call it. It's a nerve glide. It works. And she's seen it work. So it's awesome.
When you're saying the calf stretch, are you talking about like the one where they're on their hands and knees and marching, or are you talking about against the wall, or what
No,
is?
I'm talking about where you do like the lunge, the normal typical lunge, but then you heel up, head up, toe
Yeah,
down, head down. I think that's what you say, right?
yeah. So you're talking about the kneeling split stretch. It's a typical traditional kneeling stretch before kids go into a split. But we added for those who are joining, all we added was some head movement along with mobilization of the ankle, so putting some pressure on the ankle. I'll demonstrate really quick for those that weren't here and are joining today. So we just did, instead of just doing a normal, like I'm going to stretch my split. Sorry, we've got stuff everywhere today. We just finished. But you know, instead of going like, I'm going to stretch my split, which is like, by the way, not really stretching the split. We just put our hand here at our ankle, pushed. We put our other hand down. We added a head curl, and then we added a head lift. And we were just very intentional about making sure that they're staying square. They're not moving around any neural tightness. And we just went to the point of tension. So they were here, and we don't want the hip to be out like this. We want the hip to be square. And we just went in and up, in and up. And then the little secret that I taught last week, in case you weren't here, was that any stretch, pike stretch or whatever, if you just add head down, toe down, head up, toe up into the gliding, so they can go down, head down, toe down, head up. If they do about 10 to 20 of these, they'll go further and further. You can do it in a straddle, you can do it in anything. You can do it in a bridge if you wanted. With the head movement, you might even be able to flex the feet up off the ground, but like it's just a matter of adding tension and releasing tension off the nervous system. And so that's what Madhu is talking about. So you did those, right, Madhu?
Yeah, exactly. I did those, and then we added the holding the ankle and going past the toe from last week, and that even made even more of a difference. So it was awesome.
Yeah. Yay. I'm so excited. So there was once a picture of Aria. We need to do like an actual like whole reel for her on Instagram. But
It's on Instagram, actually.
Is it? Oh, is it on Instagram? Did
Yeah,
we do
it's
a
on
whole?
Instagram. Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember if we did an actual reel. Yeah, we did, right?
We did. And it's on, yeah, and it said no stretching or something like that. 5 minutes or less is what it's
5 minutes or less. That's right. Because she hated stretching so bad because it was so painful, made her cry, and she didn't want to stretch for 10, 20 minutes. And so we got her splits down, you know, got a lot further in like 5 minutes. And then, like you were just saying, you spend another 10 minutes. And it is something that as she's growing, that's the other piece to this. We have an athlete that's wired a little tight, or their alarm system's a little elevated. Maybe they're high anxiety, high stress. They're type A perfectionists. Those type of athletes will need to always work on their nervous system, because the moment that something stresses them, the moment that there's a threat, their nervous system binds down, and now their splits are a problem. And
well, no, I want to actually add to that, Brandi. So
yeah.
Even the nerve glides, if she's not calm, it doesn't work. So if she gets to like, why isn't this working? Why isn't this working type of attitude as she's doing this, I tell her, go take a 10-minute break, come back when you're not like in this mood, because it really just doesn't work. And then she has to calm herself down. And the minute she's calm, I think her nervous system calms itself. So like what I would say is like, I think we got a lot lower in the session, but over and over and over again, doing it at home in a calm environment is really what helped. And I would say maybe 3 times a week we did that for 2 weeks. And then like I saw all the world of a difference. And now sometimes she doesn't even have to do it. As long as she's not in that like state, she gets all the way down. Yeah. But the minute she starts getting like, why am I not getting it? That's it. We're back to, 7 inches off the ground, and then we have to work our way down again. So it's very interesting that you said that.
Now I want to talk about that a little bit, one piece of that, but I want to, before I say that, I want to ask a question. So when she goes to gym though, is she getting her splits all the way down with or without the warm up? Like how is it going because sometimes we have, like we've talked about the rat maze and the Pavlovian stuff in the past. And we've talked about how our brain sometimes has a map, that can kind of, it may not be like, oh, that's a lion, like I'm going to die when I go in the gym, but there may be a level of stress or anxiety or perfectionism or even self-judgment when they get into the gym that can affect their nervous system. So how is she doing when she goes in the gym with these?
So it was interesting. I was reflecting on this a week ago. So I'm going to tell you a little story. So in April, when I was at one of these, this webinar thing, I asked you the same question. I asked you, hey, I'm able to have my daughter get the split at home, but when she goes to gym, it's like as if we did nothing, and she's completely inflexible. And I think you actually said it's probably a fight or flight response. And, we talked about that a little bit. And it took me, that was April. This is in September now. I mean, about 6 months now, I've connected the dots, right? Mm-hmm. And having her do this in a calm environment over and over and over again has told her that it's possible. And she has seen it. I think it was seeing, believing, because even at home, when she's worked up and when she's not wanting to do something and it's a forced kind of situation, there's no going about it. There's no way she's getting that split. And so I've also been cognizant of that. Like, there's no point pushing her at that point. Just getting her to go eat ice cream is probably a better, it's going to calm herself down, and then she can try it, and then she'll get happy again that she's actually getting it. So it's really about changing your mentality. And you can't go beyond what the body's going to go, and you have to work with the body. And it's really taking me about 5-6 months to really understand that. So what I'll say is we are so much better at the gym, because I now know that, it's not me. I think she now knows that being calm is going to get her results. Now, we're not 100% there yet. There's still some work to be done in terms of being calm, because she still gets very frustrated when she can't get skills that she knows she can get. But I think seeing is believing. And now, we have to take the split and actually apply it to other things in, other skills, if you will, because it's the same thing that's happening, in like her round off back handspring. She'll get frustrated, and then she can't do it all of a sudden. So yeah, it's very, very eye-opening, I will say, over the last 5 months.
I'm so glad you're sharing this. Thank you so much for sharing, because it really is this understanding of, and I love, so she's 7. So, it's this idea of mastering our mind, mastering our emotions. And how many adults here have their mind mastered and their emotions mastered? Like, not many of us, right? So it is that idea of like recognizing that maybe there's a lot on our plate, or there's more on the line, or there's more going on, or I've fallen into that thought process, right? But she's 7, so she's going to rely on you for a while to like point out, I'm not worried about your splits today. Girl, your friend was not nice to you at school. We were heading in. You stayed up late. You fought me this morning. Like, is your alarm system calm going into the gym? I'm not stressed today if we're not getting our splits. It'll be better tomorrow. Like kind of helping her kind of see, like we were just talking, Doc Alley came in and did a parenting lecture, or not lecture, but parenting talk this week on Monday for my Invincible Athlete program. And one of the things we mentioned and talked about was just modeling, like being able to model for our athletes, as whether you're, any adults in their life, whether you're their parent or their coach or their, something at church or whatever you are, the ability to model having emotions and then turning around and saying, of course I can't do this one thing today. Of course my performance is affected because, I've got these other things on my plate. My alarm system's elevated. I'm not going to have the perfect amount of flexibility or mobility that I'm used to, right? But also when they get in those states of frustration, which will happen, she's 7, and then again around 10, 10 is when it's starting again, the tween, the like about to be tween, which is earlier. I've heard parents say this for years, but now I have one at 10, and it really is starting kind of earlier, where they just, I think they're recognizing the social hierarchy, and then there's this stress around it, and they're trying to figure out where do they belong and what's the real rules, and their peers are not sure the rules either. So those rules are always moving as to what's acceptable and not. And so the emotional mastery is non-existent, and they're hitting puberty too. So as their boobs are growing and their hips are widening, and all the little aspects of prepubescent that start, those hormones are rushing the body as well. And in those rushes, we don't have emotional control. Like, it's just hard because it's almost like, I like to think about, like, I'm in this beautiful, warm, cozy place, and then someone opens the door and a brisk freeze comes in. I'm like, like, I can't even, like, it's so abrupt, it's quick. It's that same feeling when you're getting rushed with these hormones that these kids don't have before they hit pre-puberty. And so I think part of it, as being a coach or a parent in these kids' lives, is doing what you're doing, Madhu, creating some spaces where it can be calm, and we can have some things that we regulate and work on, and helping point out for them when they're regulated and when they're not, but not in a negative or condescending or judgment way, but in a positive way, and saying, like you're saying, it's okay. I think, there's a lot going on today. Why don't we go do something else to have fun? What fills your cup? Do that. And then we'll come back. Maybe today, maybe today's not a split day, maybe tomorrow, right? So I think it's amazing what you're doing. And I think what a blessing it is to what a blessing it is to begin to learn that, Madhu, for yourself as a parent, because it takes away some of the maybe you can speak to that. Because I noticed as a parent that it takes away some of my frustration but also as a provider, when I learn this stuff, it takes away some of the frustration, right? I'll let you speak, Madhu, about it. But like, I notice it takes away some of the frustration, and it helps regulate my own expectations, and also gives me a tool to recognize what's happening with them. Like, oh, your alarm system's elevated. Of course, you're not as strong today. Of course, you're not discoordinated. Or of course, your splits aren't as good. Or your bridge is like a TP instead of a nice, beautiful arch. And I don't put so much weight in that one moment, I guess. So go ahead, Madhu. Go ahead and
Yeah.
speak up.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, it was a learning experience too. Like, one day she'd have it, one day she wouldn't. I'd get equally as frustrated, being like, I don't understand what's happening. Like, you can't regress and gain skills that fast. So, like, either you're not trying enough, or maybe we need to work harder, or we need to do more. Like, but really, honestly, doing less, trying less hard, and taking a break was more helpful than anything else. And I think what I realized was, and it took me, I think, trial and error to realize this, but I think it was a lot of learning for me, just giving her a break, right? Understanding that she just came home from school, and she hasn't had a minute to sit down, and now gymnastics practice is 10 minutes, from the time that she gets home, and we're in the car driving 30 minutes. So I think just realizing that, and the stress that a child has, having to be at school, for 6-7 hours before that is just already stressful. So adding on top of that wasn't helping, for sure.
I love the statement that you made, because it is like a traditional mentality that we believe that if I haven't accomplished, and it's not that you can't be perseverant, that's important, but it's when to push and when not to push. And there is a fine art in that. Really, really good coaches and really good performance people and really good athletes, they finagle and fine and become kind of masters of that fine art of when to push and when not to push. And I think it's such a great comment that I used to hear all the time. You're not working hard enough. Even in the world of physical therapy, like if a patient didn't do well, people would be like, they must not be doing their homework. They must not be doing their extra. Like it's all their fault. And it's like there's no like big picture idea to it. And so I think it is a traditional belief that, I have to do more. We need to do more numbers. We need to push harder. We need to add more weight. We're just not doing enough. She's not trying. She's not invested. And I know Aria. Aria's a beautiful 7-year-old who's very invested. It's so amazing. She's not 7 when it comes to her investment to her athletics and her body. It's quite interesting. She's more like 9 or 10, actually, I would say maturity level as far as like invested in her body. Emotionally, she's still 7, right? So, but the thing I think it's really important that you said there was that you by experience. And I think until people start to have experiences of it and hear other people's experiences, it is very counterintuitive to think we should back off or do less, or today's not the day. And Colt Walker came in and spoke for my invincible athlete program as well. And one of his big things was not putting weight on any one practice. He's like, no one practice, no one skill, no one turn is going to define my career or define who I am. I just have to keep being net positive. So we talked about being net positive. So the idea of that globally, I'm like making progress in the right trajectory, but my trajectory, like in our world, we love to make our trajectories look like a straight line, right? Like we love for it to be like, this is how I'm going to achieve my goal. But the reality is we're humans and everything's changing. So actually our trajectories look like this. And so they're in the same trajectory of up, but not everything's going to be up all the time. And so that is a fine art. And every individual is a little different on when to push and when not to push, and their alarm system is different. So that's where the customization of helping athletes become aware of their own bodies, their own mind, their own emotions, and how their thoughts. I love teaching athletes how their thoughts affect their body. Because some athletes, it's like their shoulder flexibility goes to crap. Some athletes, it's their ankles. Some of them, it's both. Others will tell you the moment I go into a bridge for my warm up, I know today was a stressful day. Like, it's like, and then I know that I'm going to need to do some reset. And they usually start to figure out what that reset is. Maybe it's some positive thinking, affirmations, maybe it's breath work, maybe it's the mobility and ankle warm up dynamic stuff. Some of that ankle dynamic stuff I'll use to help regulate the nervous system. Very often, if you see one of my athletes at a meet, many times they're doing that ankle mobility exercise and nerve glide as a self-regulation tool to bring down the alarm system and get energy out of their body between rotations at meets when they're sitting and waiting. It's a great exercise for that. Okay, so I do have a question. So we will move on to ankle mobility and squatting, I promise, guys, but I do want to answer this question because it's along these lines of how do you do nerve flossing for middle splits. Before I move on, let me read this. Oh, interesting. Okay, Sean, I'll get yours when we start doing squats. Okay, so question is, how do you do nerve flossing for middle splits? So it's great. Let me show you. I'll show you. So I just call these like, well, there's a couple of options. First, I give them like 3 different nerve glides for middle splits before I actually take them into the split and turn the split into a nerve glide. So the first one, I have their feet. Sorry, we were playing with taping today. I had to tape someone for swelling. So you can use kinesio tape for swelling. So anyways, feet straight forward, okay? And then have them kind of straddle out. And then hands are down straight in the ground like this, right? And what they're going to do is they're going to shift their hips, their pelvis, from side to side. So you can see I'm shifting my hips from side to side. So I'm here, my feet are flat. And now if I have a really tight athlete, I'll put a yoga block or a stack of books, and we'll just go to the point where they can do this with straight legs. So if they have to bend, instead put something underneath their hands like a yoga block or a panel mat. Or parallettes. Parallettes are another thing, but I prefer the hand because we're doing nervous system. I want the hand flexed and flat. So parallettes would only be if they're really tight. I'd still want them on something flat because I want some neural tension on their wrist. So they're here and they're just going to rock from side to side. Okay, and so I'll give you guys a side view because it is what it is. But you're shifting your butt. And I'm not just like moving my whole body and bending my knees. I'm literally keeping my feet flat, pushing tall into my hands, and I'm shifting my weight to one butt cheek, the other butt cheek. And I'm keeping the legs straight. So that's step 1. Feet are straight forward. Step 2, feet are turned out. Now I have an entire neural dynamic stretching program that is not out yet, but we're going to put it into an online course. So we'll do that soon, the next probably 6 months or so. So keep your eye out for that. So feet are turned out, hands flat, and I go in and out. And I do my 4 points, and then I find middle, and I do the same thing. I shift and I shift. So when my feet are forward, if you guys play with this, you'll feel that there's a certain part on the outside and a certain part on the inside that you'll feel the stretch versus when you turn in, it's a different part of the nervous system. So you'll feel a different, when you have your feet turned out, you'll have a different feeling. Okay. So step 1, feet turned in, shifts. I usually do 14 to 20. Feet turned out, shifts. I usually do 14 to 20. And then the next piece I call like the frog stretch. So we're here. And in this position, I'll show you a couple directions. I'm going to curl my chin in and round my upper back. And then I'm going to bend my knees, open my heart, and I'm going to put my hands out far enough that I can help kind of push my knees out because I don't want the knees in. I want them to go out. And then I'm going to come up and round again, and then open my heart, look up, and I'm going to press up like this. So I'm breathing. So I'm here. theater turned out. Let me grab a little hair rubber band or something. Pretty sure I have one. So you guys can see everything. I don't have hair flying over. Okay, so feet are turned out. My hands are here. And now I'm gonna round my upper back and my neck. And then, and as I'm straight, and then I'm gonna open, breathe out, and open everything up as best I can. Breathe in, round, pushing through my hands. Breathe out, and open everything up. And again, I do 20 of these. And so that's how I do nerve glides to prep for a straddle. And then for middle split. But then for an actual middle split, I just have them go into the point of their middle split where they feel the tension. And then again, I go point your toes, head down, toes down, head up, toes up, head down, toes down, head up, toes up. And then they just slide down. You can already see I gained like 2 inches, an inch to 2 inches just by doing 2 or 3. And I don't do middle splits ever. I have no need for them. I do dynamic straddles and dynamics, like kicks, side kicks, right? But that would be how I do an actual nerve glide, or neural dynamic gliding for middle splits. Now, the next piece of this is I would take bands and do side kicks and forward kicks, lying down as well as walking. There's a whole dynamic program that I have. But even just doing this, they're already doing that part. You're welcome, Trista. But even just doing that part will get you really far. And they're already doing something similar in gym, but you can be more specific with that time and get more results, faster results, just like Madhu was saying. Doing it at home when things are calm and peaceful, that's a great place to introduce stuff. And then if we can introduce to the whole team, that's even more helpful because it creates that village mentality. We're all doing it, because it also can make it hard when they think that they're doing something really different than their teammates. If they're young, if they're 14, 16, and they're pretty confident in themselves, they don't care. But if they're really young, and especially that 10 to 12, 13-year-old, they will get intense, or like the lion will kind of jump in the room just because they're worried that they're being judged. So that's where if we can have the whole team do it, 1, it's more effective. 2, if everybody's doing it, it's a safer environment to do it. Otherwise, doing it at home will help. And then as they see results, they'll start to get bolder and bolder, more confident. At 7, Madhu, I don't think Arya cares too much about not.
Oh no, she 100% cares. I
Oh,
couldn't
does
get her to do it in the gym with the 10 feet pole until
Okay.
she saw that it worked.
Mm.
Yeah, she's like, I don't want to be the only one. And actually, it's interesting because if someone points out, why are you, and it doesn't have to be a coach or anything, it's just gonna be like someone sitting next to her, hey, why are you doing something weird? Like all of a sudden she'll stop, her split will go higher and higher and higher. It's just like amusing to watch now, but it wasn't amusing in the beginning. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I mean, so isn't that interesting though? If you even think about yourself as an adult, one of our innate like primal instincts is to be accepted. And it comes back to that village mentality, because back in like primitive days, if I wasn't accepted in the group, I was going to probably not survive, because like one person would be in charge of hunting, another person in charge of gathering, another one fished, this person did all of the clothing for the, so you needed to be accepted. So this is kind of the innate, like, needed to be accepted to survive. And so it really can trigger this like, it's and some of the kids are built with it sooner than others, but it is around 7 when they start to realize this social hierarchy exists. And
yeah, it actually helped when the coach was like, Arya, do your nerve, or she says heel split, heel stretch, but same thing. Do your heel stretch. So then she started to like motivate her to do it, and then that like super helped, because then it was like, okay, now my coach is accepting me doing this, so I'm gonna now do it. So I agree. We had to start in a safe environment, and then you go bit by bit pieces.
Yeah, but look how important the coach. So for coaches on here, look how important the coach view is. Like there's an importance. So everyone has a cog in the wheel, like this triangle of athlete, parent, coach. Everyone has a cog in the wheel. And believe it or not, this athlete, it's weighing on everyone's thoughts. And so if a coach is not not accepting of something, then it's going to falter the ability to get the outcome that you want. And if a parent's not accepting of something, coaches have run into this where a parent's not accepting of a view or of a whatever, and I'm always in the middle. And so what I see, which is why I do my programs the way I do online, that's why it's the same program for everyone, because I really believe that, and my experience over the many years is that everyone has great intentions, but they're misunderstood or missing a link. So either they don't have the same information on both sides of the triangle, or their perception of the information is skewed. And so there's a miscommunication because of it. And so, yeah, you're on the other two sides. Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait to hear how it goes, Trista. Yeah, give it a try tonight and see how it goes. Okay, so we're moving forward. So this is all good, by the way, because working, believe it or not, ankle mobility is not just ankle. Like that's the piece I want you guys to take home. Ankle mobility has a ton to do with the whole neural tension and dynamic system. We are a system and we're all interconnected. And where people people on the perspective of like medical providers, people on the perspective of coaching, people on the perspective of someone helping with performance, people on the perspective of an athlete, is they get super focused on, I don't have ankle range of motion. And then they just look at the ankle and they don't look at like, oh, your thoracic spine has no mobility in it. Like, so if you notice, I have you always rounding and always opening because believe it or not, one of the main components to lack of ankle range of motion related to neural tension is thoracic spine. Increased thoracic flexion and lack of thoracic extension and or adverse neural tension around there. So what we just did is still going to help you with ankle mobility. So I'm glad we had that conversation. All right, so Sean says, I have a student who seems to overshake on one lunge side, but not the other. He can do a jump lunge and switch legs though. It's not right to push. Oh, it is not right. Oh, okay, yeah. So you're saying that one of his legs, he's shaky when he squats, and the other leg he's not?
Yeah, well, not when during the squatting, but on in the front and backwards lunge stretch, he seemed to be getting impatient with himself with his hips were he wasn't um stabilizing his hips on one side, but he could do it more easier on another side. And I'm like, and then I'm like thinking to myself as I'm trying to help him with it, I'm thinking to myself, how can this kid shake so much on one side, but jump and switch into it to the other side? Like there is something his body brain connection is there's it's connected in a lot of areas, but it's also seems to be disconnected in a little bit too. And so he finally got it better yesterday during class, but he was he was getting I don't know, he was getting frustrated about it, and I was just trying to tell him like calm down, let's work, let's just calm yourself down for a second. I'm right here, and let's go let's do just hold it for like I literally was like I can you bring it out. I was being super patient with him because anyway, so and like I just had him go um I had him like go down into the lunge that is his weak one, and I was like, just can you give me 3 seconds in this? And I counted down three, two, one because I had to. One of the all the other students were around, so I had to. I did I put him on the spot, but not in a bad way, like or anything. So because I couldn't, it was so I couldn't like put him aside, take him aside or anything. So he finally got that, and he seems to be getting better at that. But I'm like, it got me a little confused, slightly confused, because I'm like, this is really, I'm not sure if I've seen this before, where he's having so much trouble. Like it's almost like he's doing the shaking his hips intentionally on one side and not the other side. I'm like, dude, I'm like, come, like just calm your hip. Like his hips were shaking like he was dancing, and I'm like, dude, what in the world? I'm like,
So
okay, so
a
yeah,
couple pieces of this. Is this kid between the age of like, is he around like 10 to
he's sub
12?
10.
Yeah.
He's like
So
he's preteen. He's like
sure,
very yeah,
but
he's young.
he's in a big growth period. So two
Yeah.
things. when they grow, they will lose coordination because bones are growing fast, the muscles can keep up.
Mm.
Two is that it sounds like a motor patterning issue. So
Mm.
there's a motor patterning issue, a couple tricks. There's a couple tricks to get the motor firing better. One, you could always try something the opposite. So if it's a forward lunge, you could do a backwards lunge. If it's a side lunge, you could do the opposite side lunge. If I have an athlete who's got an asymmetry happening where one side's super great and one side's just like not even on the same page, I will have the athlete feel one or two on the other side where things are off. And I'll also have them use their eyes. If they're visual learners, kinesthetic learners, I'll have them put their hands on their hips. I many times do both, and I have them look in the mirror and feel the hip, feel the two weird ones on the side that's hard. Now let's go to the side that he gets it and give whatever cueing you want, which is like hip, knee, ankle, and alignment, right? I want those to see straight and not be this twisty thing happening. And have his hands on his hips, see himself in the mirror. Do like 5 or 6 on the side that's good. And then after he's done several and he feels really confident and is really getting it, then I have him go the other side and go, you know what? It's common for us to like have sides that are easier than others. So now I just want you to take that same concept and try on this side. Now, if I'm doing like a forward stepping lunge, I might put a stool or a small, like the top of a trapezoid block, like the top or the middle layer of a trapezoid block. It's a little, depends on how tall he is. But something that's probably around knee height or like something that will help him squat down. He can tap his bottom on it. That I can put behind him a little bit. So I'll show you here in a second because we're going to talk about squatting mechanics and also ankle mobility with that. So I'm going to give you guys a couple combo exercises next. But I would give him a task. So I would have him try, can he carry over the movement from the good side, the side that's getting it, to the side that's struggling? And many times that works. And then also you can use mirror neurons. So you can get in front of him and have him mirror you. So you're doing you use his mirror neurons, you do good mechanics, and then he watches you while he does it. Together you squat. Okay. And so as a coach, these are coaching tricks, right? So these are this is applied neuroscience at its best. Like, how can I give him kinesthetic cueing, audio, visual cueing? What words am I giving him, which is the auditory cueing? And then can I use my mirror neurons by like going in and doing it in front of him many times? And I give him time. Like, I don't expect him to figure out in the first 5. Like it's probably going to be 10 to 14 before his brain kicks in. So as long as whatever the route I take to try to help him, as long as I'm seeing progress and his coordination is improving, I'll stay that route. If we're not making any progress, I'll ditch it and go for one of the other tools. Does that make sense? So like if I'm on number 5 and we've made no progress and I'm not seeing anything towards something different, then I'll ditch that effort and I'll go get a block. I'll go get something for him to actually sit on. If this is something he's really struggled with and I have short amount of time, I'll throw all of it in at the same time. I'll put the block behind him. I'll give him the cue. I'll do it in front of him and we'll do it together. Do you see? So now I don't have enough time to figure out what the best way is to teach you. So we're just going to throw kind of something behind you as well as give you the cues at the same time, right? And I still would have them do the easier side first. And so these are just ways for you to because what happens is there's a nerve or a neural connection that is connected to, I don't know, like let's just make it simple. It's not black and white like this, but let's make it simple. There's a nerve that lets me lift this finger up on this side. That same nerve is connected to a nerve on this side that makes me lift this finger up. This is a way that we deal with stroke patients. If we have an arm that they've had a stroke on, if you actively make them work really hard, like you give them some heavy weight on the biceps, and you make it work really hard here, you can get activation of something that's not activated in very, very long time because of this nerve. So if I have a nerve that lifts this finger on this side, it'll also lift this finger over here, right? So in short, you're not working one nerve. You're not working one neural loop. I'm not going to lie or try to make it that clear. But if you do something on one side that's easier, you can use that connection to access the other side. That makes sense?
Okay, gotcha.
And then sometimes we beat ourselves so hard in a pattern of moving forward that you just move them backwards. So a great example of this is people who've had a boot on for a long time. They're walking forward with a boot, right? They take the boot off and they're still walking like this, like they have a boot on. Have you
Oh,
guys
yeah.
have you seen that? Yeah. So what we can do as a neural trick is make them walk backwards, make them run backwards, make them jump sideways and like
Yep.
high step
Yeah.
sideways. And then when I have them go forward, I exaggerate the forward by exaggerating the movement pattern with high stepping forward. Like I want you to be like a moon man, right? Like I'm like, so they may be just limping like this, like they have the walk, and then I walk backwards, high stepping. So I'm exaggerating the moon man, and I might have them do it fast, or I might have them do it exaggerated slow. It doesn't really, different people respond to different things. But then the next thing, instead of saying, hey, walk forward, sometimes I'll just have them, hey, walk forward, and they're better. But sometimes if they really got a problem with a movement pattern, then I'll have them exaggerate like you're the $1,000 million man, right? In the 70s or something. And I'll have them exaggerate it backwards. So you can do this with any pattern, squatting, ankle mobility. Like if someone's having trouble on one side or one pattern, you can exaggerate the movement and make it very slow. You can also exaggerate the movement in the opposite direction. And you can just use that neural training to help change it. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah, these are just some coaching tips. I know there's a couple of coaches here. Carla, Glenn, Brianne, does that help you guys with just some ideas of like ways to change when athletes are struggling with a movement pattern or they just cannot run straight or any of those things? Let's see, there's
Yes, I use it.
Great, good. And yeah, Brianne says yes. Awesome. I just don't want to lay down information that just makes no sense. But it's just quick, easy, applicable stuff. This isn't something where you maybe spend 20 minutes doing. This is just quick tips to like, how can I change this quickly? And make this a little easier for this kid. So then we can all as a group move on. Or maybe that's the other thing though, you don't have to do just one kid. Because you can refine other people's movements by doing it with everyone. And also, again, back to that village mentality, you get everyone helping, then now everyone's a little safer and everyone's neural input is better and calmer. Okay, I need to grab, because I want to show you guys this stool thing. I love these portable stools. Okay. Let me grab another one. So I love these stools that can fold. And they come in different heights. And they like, right? They come in different heights. They fold up really easy. So they're nice to store. But if you're in a gym, you already have like all these different levels of blocks, you know. But if you're in a gym where equipment's really scarce and like all of the team always has the equipment over here, or the preschool's got the whole obstacles, they have everything out. You having these little stools are really easy ways to work on squatting and ankle mobility. So I know we only have 10 minutes left, but I'm gonna lay down kind of one of the most powerful little exercises you guys can do. I'll use the green. Well, yeah, I'll use the green. So, because then you guys know which one you can do. So let me just set up something really quick and show you guys. All you really need is a block, a spotting block, or a bench, or a chair, some kind of solid surface. And that's not gonna work for me. Is it? Yeah, it will. And sometimes I hook it onto this bench because the bench has a little spot, but I'm gonna make it so that, you guys can do it in different ways. Okay, so part of ankle mobility is teaching athletes. So one of the things that happens when athletes have lack of ankle mobility is that they actually don't let go of their calf when they squat. So think about that. They don't eccentrically lengthen the calf so that when they bend, their heel moves away from their knee so that that knee can go forward, progress forward over the midfoot. Let me show you what I mean so that it makes sense. But I had one today that was a great example of it. So when I'm squatting, they'll do this. And what happens, and I don't even know if I can do it, I'm gonna have to do my little balance, but they'll do this. What happens is I'm doing a lot of knee bend, but I'm not allowing my knee to progress forward. I'm stopping here. And when I do that, I'm actually activating my calf. And so what has to happen is the heel should move away from the knee. See this? They're moving away from each other. So this has to get longer in order to absorb, right? So in order to, or to prepare. So if I'm preparing for a jump, not a punch, punch is different, but I'm preparing for a jump and I'm getting ready to hear jump, I have to allow my knee to move away from my heel, and my knee has to go forward over my midfoot, and this has to get longer to do that. And so often, especially if they've had ankle injuries or if they're always on, they'll land tight back here. They'll throw their hands out to try to balance it out. But you see, when I'm back here, my butt is actually way back and my knee is not over my toes. This is actually where I want to be.
Yeah, so Brandi, I thought it was not good to have your knee in front of your toes, like to land like that.
I love having you on this call because there are so many people, and Carla says,
No, but that's your hand healed. That's your 4 points leaning forward, nerve glide, head down, head up. I mean, your knee has to go over top your foot, right? In order to stretch the calf.
Yeah. So when we're doing the calf stretch piece, yes, the knee is going to go way past your toes. But when we're looking at actual squat mechanics, we want your knee to fall over the midfoot. Okay. Now, should you be able to allow your knee to go forward at times? Yes, to an extent. But if you're landing with your knee way past your toes, then you're going to have some problems. So let me show you what I mean. So if I'm here and I squat and I want the weight, so I want my nose over my knees. I want my knees to land right about midfoot. You see that? So I don't want my knees to land. So if I tuck my tail and I land with my knees here, where my knees are way past my toes, do you see that?
They're going to buckle.
Okay.
Number one, you're buckled. Number two, you're going to get knee pain or maybe
they're going to contort themselves to get there.
Yeah, their knee is going to go way too far forward. I've got a great video that I'll drop in. Hopefully I can do it here in a second. And we might just actually spend next week on this because I have a whole bunch of squatting videos and we can talk about squatting specifically. But in particularly, you want your hip, knee, and ankle alignment to be about equivocal angles, give or take. And my knee should land right around my midfoot. Okay, so I should have like right about here. Yeah, mine are going a little far today for some reason. But that's what we're looking for when we're landing. I don't want my knees to be way forward, but I also don't want my knees to be like this. So if I'm way back here, I've now done a lot of hip bend. My knee is not moving very much, and my ankle's not bending near as much. So it should be about equal angles between the hip, knee, and ankle. Now that's true squat mechanics, okay? We can talk more about squatting and landing next time because I have a ton of videos of that. But we want to talk more about loaded. So part of what I want to work on is those athletes who don't, when they go to squat, they don't actually allow their knee and ankle to move. Does that make sense? Like they're not actually bending at their ankle. They're over bending usually at their hip or their knee. So what you can do is you take a band, and this is to help with that ankle mobility again, the dorsiflexion, and you make a loop on one end of it. You tie it to something. It can be the base of a chair, it could be the base of the wall, the base of a balance beam, the uprights of something, like whatever. You tie it around close to the floor level. And then I put the ankle strip on right where my ankle bends. So if you can see, I have it right where the fold is. Okay, and now it's going to push backwards just like I did when I was in that kneeling stretch. So when I use my hand, I'm going to use the band instead, and then I'll have them stand. Try to figure out the best view for you guys. Trying. So then I'll have them stand 4 points in and out, nice and tall, up into their ram's horns, which we've talked about before. And I'll have them do the 4 points, 3 to 5 of them, find middle, and then I'll have them squat from there. Now, a lot of them will want to squat either knees too far forward and their tail is tucked, or they'll stick their butt out and they won't bend at their ankles. See, there's no ankle bend. So I'll put something behind them, which is about knee height. And I'll say, I just want you, now clearly I have a band going this side, so the box is a little to my side. I'll show you a front view in a second. So I'm here, and I just say, hey, I want you to sit. And then I want you to stand, right? I want you to sit and stand. And what you'll notice is, and if they squat like this, you see knees first, then maybe they bend their hips, or maybe they go down like that. Then I'll say, I want you to bow first, like you're bowing, right? And I want you to keep your tailbone out. Then bend the knees and sit. Now I'm exaggerating the movement pattern so that they can find it. So maybe I'll say bow, bend, squat. I'm going to move this out a little bit so you guys have a little better view. I'm running out of space here. Okay. Right there should get you the whole view. Okay. So I'm here and I find the 4 points, and then I bow, knees, and then ankles. Bow, knees, push up. So if they're doing knees first, that's not a good mechanic. And we want to mobilize the ankle in a proper position. So we're just using ankle mobilization at the same time we're working squat mechanics, because they need to learn how to bend at their ankles. So it's hip, knees, ankles, hip, press up. So I'm just bowing. Now, if they're really bad at this, I'll literally go bow, 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 bend, and sit. Just for about 3 or 5 reps so that they get the hang of it. I want to break the pattern. It's back to that exaggerated walking. I want to exaggerate the pattern for a little bit to change their brain. So I'll just be like, instead of doing this, I want you to go bow, 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 and then bend. Now, next week, we can talk about what happens if they have compensations with this. But then you want to fold and stand up. That's it. And then if I need to work, and let's say they do everything from their hips and their knees, and they're not letting their ankle go forward. Then, and let's say that they're only doing it on the one ankle. So sometimes they'll let one knee go, but they won't let the other one. I don't know if you guys can see that, but they're uneven. If I bend and I let one ankle go, but I'm afraid to let this ankle go, or I have a habit, then I might actually spend some time and just say, okay, I want you to really, and if it's one ankle especially, I'll have them put one leg behind them, and I'll say, I really want you to just bend at the ankle, and we just do the ankle bends. This is not about training squatting. This is just about mobilizing their ankle in a weighted position. So I go in and I do 4 points, and then in this position, I'm only working ankle mobility, I want the knee to go past the toes. I'm not working a squat. I want the knee to go as far past the toes so that I get 15 to 20 degrees here. So I'm going to go, okay, I want you to go, 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 far as you can go, and then come back up. Go, 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 go. Think of your heel getting away from your knee and come back up. Now, I don't let them do crazy twisting stuff. So let me show you guys the front view so you can see that. And then we'll have to go. But next week we can talk about, and I'll pull some of the videos of how to change people's squats, because there's a bunch of different compensations people will do. Let's see. All right, so when they're here, if I'm doing that two-legged one, you can see I have the band to the side of what I'm sitting on. This can be a block, it can be a stool. And then I just have them bow, bend, and squat. Fold, come up. And what I want to see in this angle, hip, knees, ankles, second toe. So my knees should be going over my second toe. So what I don't want to see is this. I don't want to see is turning out, unless they have a hip dysplasia or a reason they should be turning in or out. But when if they have a fairly normal structured hip, then they should just be bowing, bending, coming up. And you want to see, and I have them put their hands on their hips because I don't want to see this. I don't want to see them go like this. I don't want to see them go like this or rotate. I want to see them bow straight and knee bend. Come on. And then when I have them here, just doing my ankle mobility exercise, they put the other foot, out behind. This is here. And we're just doing little partial squats because it's not about the squat. It's about the knee going over the second toe. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Let's see. So I keep the 4 points in and out. Find middle. Allow the knee to go forward and back up. Now I am keeping my hips square. Allow the knee to go forward. But I'm not doing a hip hinge. And I'm letting the knee go past the toes. So I'm literally letting the knee go way, way past the toes. As far as they can go to get 15 to 20 degrees of ankle range of motion. Now I am choosing to show you guys my surgery ankle, which is funny. I don't know why. Maybe I needed to mobilize it today. But so I'm a little stiffer on this side. But knee and back up. So I'm just getting, and again, I'm not doing it as a squat. Now, if I want to turn it into a squat, then I like these bands because I can do this. You can also do, no, I usually do this. Yeah, so I have the little band kind of pulling out from underneath it. But I can bring this out here, and then I can do the squat. And I can do the fold, bend, squat. Fold, bend, squat. You can sometimes play. Sometimes you're able to get fold, bend, and they just tap. So like, let's say you don't have something that you can, like this has a little window I can put the band through. If it's a block, I just put the block off to the side of the front foot so I can use the band. And I just have them tap the block. But what the block is doing is giving them, we have a natural pattern as to how to sit. Like we have a natural idea of sitting. There we go. So that they naturally will go hip, knee, ankle. Hip, knee. See, I've got nose, knee, midfoot. And so now I'm working ankle mobility while I'm working squat mechanics. But if they're really stiff in their ankle, the difference is I'm not concerned about the hip hinge. I'm not concerned about squatting. I'm just concerned about getting the ankle to move, right? So I'm letting the knee go as far forward as I can. That answer, does that help? But it's really important to do ankle mobility weighted. Part of the power of that kneeling exercise is because it's weighted. And that weight helps to change the neural dynamics.
You're talking about the body weight, correct?
Yeah, body weight. Yeah.
Okay.
Now you can do these. I don't normally do ankle mobility with weights, but I'll do like the squat version where I was hip, knee, ankle. I'll do that with weights, which we can talk more about next week. But if I'm just working ankle mobility, I just do body weight. Does that make sense to me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
All right. Awesome. Yeah. Is okay for the knee to pass the foot. So we'll talk more about that. Yeah. So dynamic stretching versus static. That's what we want to do. Dynamic, neural dynamic, weighted, body weighted if possible. All of those things are going to help you. Less is more, which is what Madhu attested to. It's not about forcing things. So that's pretty much the end for today. But remind me, would you guys give me a thumbs up? Do you guys next week want to talk more about squat mechanics, jumping and landing stuff? Yeah? Madhu, like you guys can just give yes, yes. Okay, perfect. All right, so next week, perfect. Everybody says yes. All right, awesome. So remind me, Madhu, are you going to be in for sure next week, or Sean?
Yeah, I'll be here.
Yeah,
I try not to miss these. These are very valuable.
Oh, thanks, Madhu. I'm so glad. I'm glad we can help. Yeah, just remind me first thing. But I'm gonna try to make myself a note because I want to pull out some actual videos for you guys of some different variations of how athletes compensate. So there's a lot of ways athletes compensate when they're squatting. And so there's some fun little tools and like cool ways that I've found to help them not compensate and to change the pattern. So just breaking up the pattern. Oh, I'm so glad you're able to come too as well, Sean. Thank you guys so much. I hope you guys enjoy it. This is one of my favorite times of the week is to meet you guys and see you guys. So thanks for joining.
One of my previous professors used to say you have to hear something 6 times for it to stick. So sometimes these webinars are really helpful because I can only hear it once with you, Brandi. So.
No kidding. No kidding. Golly.
Well, we're streaming them now, most of them, not all of them. We're streaming them now to the YouTube. So you can come back and review. But also that's the reason why I do my online courses the way they are. So it's lifetime access to all of my online courses. If you buy even the 97 on sale for 37 product, you still have lifetime access because I know how we learn. You pick up 10% on a weekend course. That's what we know. It's been studied. And so if you keep revisiting it and if you have experiences, so like Madhu's not going to forget about this nervous system or how judgment and like energy of frustration affects her daughter's strength and coordination and flexibility, especially flexibility. She'll never forget that because she learned it, then she played with it, she learned it, she experienced it, and now she's teaching it on the course when I'm talking, right, today. And that is the actual pedagogy of learning. And so it's really important to me that everyone gets access to everything lifetime so that you can have that same thing. Like one of my courses in my Invincible Athlete is concussions. If you've never had an athlete or you yourself had a concussion, you're probably going to listen to it and go, okay. But then you're going to have an athlete someday that has a concussion and you go, what did Brandi say? So now you can revisit it. And then once you've revisited and you implemented now, and that's why I encourage everyone to go play this week on just the mobility with the band, play with the middle split stuff, like Tristan, like play with those things, because then when you have an experience, you'll remember it and you'll remember it to help others. So anyways, thank you guys so much for coming this week, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.